Breaking news, there is a brand new sim racing game for you to download for free right now. But should you care? Rennsport, which is the German word for racing, is the platform in question. It uses the shiny Unreal Engine 5 graphics technology paired with venerable ISI Motor 2 physics, used in various sim racing releases over the years such as Race 07, GT Legends, and even a bit of Race Room. It's trying, we think, to take on the likes of iRacing and Assetto Corsa Competizione as a serious, competitive sim racing title. At the same time, the mod-related rhetoric shows a desire to entice long-serving fans of the original Assetto Corsa to the platform as well. With a closed beta first launching in June last year, and supposedly close to 50,000 people on the waiting list, at last, as of today, a free open beta is available on PC via the Epic Games Store. There are 15 cars, from a Praga R1 to ubiquitous GT3s to the pinnacle of LMDH. These can be driven on 11 tracks, in a solo test session, an online leaderboard and ghost-enabled time trial mode, or online in leagues and upcoming organised multiplayer races. The Nürburgring Nordschleife has been added, alongside yet another Porsche which has Rennsport in its name, which isn't confusing at all, as well as 2 GT4s and embryonic virtual reality support. Now, I've given the latter a quick blast, and although you can tell it's a first iteration, visually and practically, it actually ran smoothly, so that's a good sign. Aside from VR though, what about the rest of it? The overall picture sounds intriguing on paper, but let's hit the track. In essence, things do feel pretty decent. However, we have kind of been saying that for the past number of years. While some cars feel planted and well developed with good physics, decent force feedback, other cars just feel a little bit underwhelming, or even unenjoyable. I think the best way to put it is it's just a bit of a mixed bag at the moment. Like this GT4 for example, this is one of the new cars to come to the service for the open beta, and it feels really nice. Both GT4 cars in fact feel really satisfying to drive. The physics, does what you'd expect. The force feedback's pretty pleasant. There's really nothing noticeably disappointing about this, and that's a really good sign. But then you go and drive some of the other machinery, the LMDH cars for example, with lots more downforce, even the Praga R1 as well with its downforce, and things just don't feel quite right. There's just a bit of a disconnection between what downforce should feel like and what you actually get through the wheel. I don't know what it is, it's just something's missing. It's a little bit floaty, the grip levels are a bit inconsistent, it feels like it changes from one circuit to another, and obviously some of that's just my driving, but other sims don't necessarily give me that. There are a couple of front-wheel drive cars as well, it's not just GTs and prototypes. And the TCR Audi and Hyundai Elantra just don't do it for me at all. I don't find them enjoyable to drive, they don't feel natural. Again, there's just a bit of a disconnect between what you actually experience through the steering wheel and what's going on circuit, and I can't get my head around it. It's not awful or anything like that, don't get me wrong, it's still decent, it's just not the best. Now, it wouldn't be fair of me to talk about the disappointment of the TCR cars without saying how awesome this thing is. It's the Porsche 911 GT3R Rennsport Edition. So it's not a standard GT3 car, it's like a special GT3 with a bit more grip, a bit more power. It feels like that anyway. And that's really cool, it's like what a GT3 car could be without the restrictions. It feels awesome. Just like the GT4 car, it feels planted, manageable, but also feisty. It's giving me good feedback, it just feels like a race car should. Not saying we're at the peak of sim racing here, but obviously that's not necessarily surprising yet. Again, very much early stages, although it's been developed for quite a long time now. It's just really good though, I cannot complain about this whatsoever. And the GT3 cars in general are good too, although they should be because they've been raced by the pros for a couple of seasons now, in fact multiple seasons. So you might be wondering about a few other things. Well, car setups, they're still not in this game yet, although you can adjust anti-lock brakes, you can adjust traction control and brake bias on the go. In fact, if you look down at the bottom left of your dashboard, there you go, turning TC up. There is also a damage model as well, if you have it turned on, so when you do crash into a wall, you can lose a wheel, lose a tyre, damage the aero. It's pretty clever, it's obviously fairly basic, but good to see that it's the car is affected visually and mechanically. And then in terms of the looks, the sounds, I mean, it looks pretty good. Not incredible, not the best looking racing game I've ever played, but fairly decent. Still some visual glitches here and there though. You've got that kind of classic Unreal Engine 5 trait, the ghosting that you see in the replays. You've got some kind of blurriness on the dashboard displays and stuff. Similar kind of thing with the sounds, really. Good raw sounds. Feels like there's a lot of potential there, but there's still some glitchiness to it. When you change camera angle sometimes, the sounds go a bit funky. Also on replays sometimes, and it just feels like there's more detail to be added, but not bad at all. Now you will also have noticed, of course, that I'm just hot lapping in this particular video, and that's just because, well, I'm not able to jump into an online race at this very moment. There isn't one available for me to jump into to show you in this kind of short filming timescale that we've got, but obviously online racing is going to be a big part of this game when it launches, even when it launches in open beta, so we're definitely going to have to revisit that and see what that's like. But for now it's just offline hot lapping. Really do have to watch for those curbs as well, because there's still a few circuits in particular, it feels like a few specific curbs where if you hit them the wrong way, it will react in a funky way and throw the car off the road. I mean, that was me just testing them there. They felt fine, but I have definitely experienced some weird curbs at the likes of Daytona and Road Atlanta as well. So going back to racing, that's the thing, isn't it really? With a sim racing title, it's all about good racing, and that's going to be a big test for it. When we get lots of players on at the same time in this open beta, what's the netcode going to be like with big grids? It would be really nice as well to have AI racing, and we still don't have AI racing, so I cannot do an offline race at this current stage. We also still don't know about a single player career mode, for example, and mod support so far simply amounts to Orchard Road Street Circuit and the Figure of 8 track. If that feedback sounds a little familiar, then you'd be right. 2 years ago, Traxion had the pleasure of visiting a former coal storage bunker in Munich to test what was, back then, a complete unknown. The nascent competition company presented its vision for the future of virtual motorsport, and it was grander than the Olympic Tower, just a kilometre away from the launch event. We left having spent 3 days in Bavaria's most populous city with a sense of hope, but also somewhat sceptical. Skeptical hope. Is that a thing?
It is a brand new simulation for racing cars. And I do think the industry needs an additional member to push everybody forward. Whether or not Rennsport is that game, however, does remain to be seen. There's a lot of potential and all the ingredients are there for something spectacular. However, until we try AI racing, if there's any wet weather, tyre wear, pit stops, fuel strategies, online netcode stability, all these things right now remain an unknown.
Then we visited Poland for the IEM Katowice esports gathering to see the debut of ESL R1, a potentially groundbreaking competition that saw the world's best drivers compete for a share in a €500,000 prize pool across 2023.
Really the idea is not only creating a game for the community, also creating a game with a strong partner together so that we can do exactly what we see behind. So great LAN events, great esport, and building all the tools. And starting with these kind of events is also super important to test these things and see if everything works good and really get feedback from yourselves.
In June of last year, 12 months since its initial unveiling, we were back in Munich. Here, community-made mods were showcased, with the expectation of tools to allow conversion from another sim platform into Rennsport.
I think the driving and the vision is compelling, but there isn't the breadth of ability there at the minute to be anywhere near definitive on our verdict. And so, like it was last year, let's see what it is in another 12 months.
Yeah, the esports element is very, very cool. There's a lot happening. The game itself, I'm with you. We're finally seeing promises coming to fruition and building, but we need that to actually happen in the coming weeks and months.
Fast forward to now, July 2024, and the verdict is remarkably similar for a third year in succession. With no AI racing, a delayed debut of McLaren, and as yet unfulfilled modding plans, it's tricky for us to truly buy into the vision still. And then we come to the Founders Packs. Rennsport has committed to a free-to-play model for its actual final launch, whenever that ends up being. Some content will be free upon entry, some cars and tracks will be paid for. It sounds, on paper, similar to Race Room's model. Ahead of the version 1.0 release, however, will be an early access launch, and before early access comes this open beta, which follows the closed beta. Got it? And it's during this open beta you can purchase one of 3 Founders Packs, ranging from €19.99 to $69.99. If you'd like to drive on the Nürburgring Nordschleife, like I'm going to right now, it's locked behind one of these packs, for an open beta, for a sim that's far from proven. Food for thought. But hey, at least the Porsche car included has a unique EVIN, or electronic virtual identification number, which sounds very much like something non-fungible, except purportedly not on the blockchain. It is, instead, claimed to be about recreating the feeling of car ownership in a virtual form, with stats and results being linked to a car's specific EVIN. Let's see how that plays out. This brings us to our main frustration. We've been to the lavish events, tested the early vertical slices on optimum PCs and perfect equipment. Then we've come home and been deflated by the relative lack of progress. The Porsche Mission R was added in March this year after an unveiling back in May 2022. The Porsche 963 LMDH was first shown in July 2023, ahead of its May 2024 implementation, nearly a whole year. Progress is slower than Perez since his contract extension. At this rate, previously discussed McLarens may not arrive until 2026. Checking every feature tick box from day one is perhaps not expected. Rennsport would argue that an open beta launch is day minus 365, or something similar, but we see it as day 1277, accounting for Rennsport stating that the title has been in development 18 months prior to the 2022 unveiling.
It took around 1.5 years from our first lines of code to the Summit 1 stage.
Now don't get me wrong, we really do think competition in sim racing is a great thing and it's needed. And we do say well done for finally making it to the open beta stage. No one is claiming you have to buy the founders packs or that Rennsport is close to a finished product. It isn't, and they're transparent about that. Yet, once again, we're left with a lingering sense of unrealised potential with no clear end in sight. Rennsport really does need to deliver sooner rather than later. Be sure to let us know your thoughts on Rennsport in the comments section below. Will you be getting your hands on the open beta? Have you been enjoying the closed beta? Or are you feeling a little bit pessimistic? Subscribe to the Traxion channel for more content like this in future, and of course hit the notification bell if you want to catch all of our latest videos as they are released. We also have a Discord server, so if you want to join a friendly and like-minded paddock, make sure you check out the information in the description. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.